These are the World Cup standings coming into the second race of the season, led by Katarina Nash of the Czech Republic, who was the winner in the season opener just a week ago in Iowa City. And the top cyclists in the world lined up for the start on what is a unseasonably hot day in south central Wisconsin. Temperature near 90 degrees Fahrenheit. That's why all the umbrellas are out, shielding the riders from the unbearable heat at the moment. This is Caroline Mani of France, part of the front row. She is the French champion, and in the Stars and Stripes, the 13-time U.S. national cyclocross champion, Katie Compton, who injured her shoulder last week in Iowa, but bouncing back to win a smaller race here on this course on Friday evening. Ellen Noble, also of the U.S., lined up next to Katie Compton, one of 18 Americans in this field today. Part of the Aspire Racing squad. And on her right shoulder, the reigning world champion, Sanne Cant of Belgium, who struggled with the heat in the Friday race here, also crashed 3 times. She was on the podium in Iowa, finishing 3rd a week ago. That is Katarina Nash, the winner in Iowa. She then went on to Las Vegas midweek and won the Cross Vegas race, so the hottest racer in the sport right now. Sophie de Boer, the Dutch rider, lined up to the right of Nash. De Boer, one of 3 riders from the Netherlands in the field today. And there is the Belgian Ellen van Looy, who crashed last week in Iowa, coming from a triathlon and volleyball background. And here is one of the fan favorites, Katie Keough of nearby Racine, Wisconsin, just about an hour east of here, just south of Milwaukee. I'm Steve Schlanger with the Tour de France winner, not winner, I should say veteran, Jens Vogt. You tried to win many different times, Jens, but glad to have you here in Wisconsin as the ladies get set to take the start.
It's going to be an exciting day for all of us. It's a great quality field. It's an exciting course. I had the chance to race on this yesterday. It's going to be an exciting race for all of us.
A field of 45 riders altogether from 12 different countries, and now set for the start. Not a very long stretch before they hit the first turn to the right, going uphill, making the hole shot very important. And that is Katie Keough in the green, the American, who gets the hole shot. She leads him into that first right-hand turn. Good crowds all weekend long, as one rider has already gone down, slipping out. And Jens, that could be an issue because it's been so hot and dry, the course getting silty in spots, and some riders talking over the last few days during their rides out on the course about how it's becoming so slippery.
Yes, indeed. Some of the parts, yeah, here we see the crash again, and clearly she just slid out there. Some of the parts are like as hard as tarmac. Some of the parts just loose sand and gravel. So it's a bit tricky to be out there. You got to judge your effort really nicely here.
So it's Katie Keough, Ellen Noble, Sophie de Boer, the top 3. And one rider going for a change already in the pit. That's Helen Wyman of Great Britain, already getting a bike change. It'll be interesting to see the action in the pits today, what sorts of tires they're running, most on the low profiles because of the hard, fast track, but also the hydration, so important. Most times riders in cyclocross don't carry bottles, but they're going to need water pretty frequently today. It is still Katie Keough out front on lap number 1. Ellen Noble behind her. Keough certainly lifted by the home state crowd that has come out. A Wisconsin native. Won in Rochester a few weeks ago. That wasn't on the World Cup, but she also won here last year in a non-World Cup race. So has started off this season well, likes this course, and also leading early on lap 1. As you take a look at, once again, the bike change for Helen Wyman, the first rider in the pit.
It was a terrible bike change. She got the old bike tangled up with the new bike. That should not happen at this level of racing.
So Keogh and Noble trying to stay out front without any traffic in front here on lap number 1, because they'd like to be the first to the Segafredo run-up, which is going to be one of the key sections of the course.
And often it's just the safest option to stay in the front, because you can judge what line you want to take, how much risk you want to take. You can see it's important to have a clear line. People struggle with the grip of the tires here already, and if you're in position 50, you don't see anything because of all the dust.
See how it washes out a little because it's so dusty and dry. Riders coming out of the pedal and the tripod to try and balance themselves. Some riders already dismounting because of the difficult conditions.
Katie Compton looks good. She's on 4th position. The world champion, she seemed to have a little bit of a slower start. Let's see if she can come back from that.
So this is the very tricky descent that leads them to the run-up. A lot of riders are going to have to run and not ride. As a matter of fact, it looks like most will be running.
Yeah,
led by Katie Keogh.
This climb is so steep, you cannot ride up it. You have to get off the bike and run. And they're doing really well here.
So it's Keogh and Noble. First to the top there. Katie Compton of the U.S. also in that front group. Sane Kant back here in this second group. Take a look at what happened here a moment ago. A rider going down in that dusty, silty part of this off-camber descent and into the barriers. And now out into a more flowing section of the course. But that run-up, the Segafredo run-up down near where the Trek factory building is, that's going to be a key section to watch all day, because the riders are going to have to run each and every time, it looks like, and that saps a lot of energy on a hot day.
And here you see also all decide to actually take the safe option and get off the bike and run. I saw the other day some people try to jump on here, but they all take the safe option, get off the bike and run.
Keogh and Noble still 1-2. Reigning world champion Sane Kant back in about 11th or 12th place. There she is right there. Katarina Nash also in the top 10, the winner from last week in Iowa. Katie Compton in the first group, first 6 or 7 it looks like. And already starting to see some significant separation between riders on the course here on lap number 1.
Indeed, there's already the first like little splits you can see. Yep, there's like a little front group here.
Now over the barriers. That is Ellen Van Looy, who has now come to the front, taking the lead from Katie Keogh. So for the first time, Van Looy out front. Now the reigning world champion, Sane Kant, the winner in Iowa, Katarina Nash, both in the top 10, but near the back half, right around the 8 to 10 spot. It is Ellen Van Looy, Katie Keogh, Ellen Noble, and then Compton near the front. Now, good to see Katie Compton near the front. Typically, she does not start well. One of her signature liabilities is a slow start, whether it's nerves, whether it's thinking too far ahead and not staying in the moment. So the fact that she's near the front already on lap 1 is a good sign. However, she did also crash while being near the front last week in Iowa City, hurt her shoulder, pretty much ended her race, but she has bounced back on Friday night in a lower level race, got the victory. So some confidence despite the injury coming into this World Cup race today.
I had a chance to talk to her, and she didn't break a bone. She kind of like dislocated something, but apparently it doesn't stop her from riding. She said she cannot raise her arm much, but she can still ride the bike.
Now, it looked painful at the time. After that race in Iowa City, had an ice pack on it, was grimacing, and very disappointing. It was the first World Cup of the season. She was leading for a while in that race, and that crash took her out for the day.
They're coming out into that Segafredo.
And now on a paved section of the course, just 10% of this 2.8K course, which is just under 2 miles in Waterloo, Wisconsin, is paved. 90% is grass or dirt. A little rock mixed in as well.
The water splashing down on it.
And still on lap number 1. We don't know how many laps they're going to race. Typically in cyclocross, after about the first 15 minutes or so, they get an idea of how long it's going to take. As we see one of the bike changes in the pit belonging to Loes Cels of Belgium. But they get a sense of how long it's going to take to get to the 50-minute mark, which is kind of the ideal time frame for a women's World Cup race. And then they decide after the first lap or two, as another rider goes down, how many laps they're going to have to do to get to that 50 minutes. So, well, Jens here on lap number 1, hot, dry, dusty day already. At least 3 crashes we've seen.
And that's a really tough part here because you have no grip at all with the tires. You can see the first lady getting off the bike already. You have to find the ideal line, otherwise you have to get off the bike and run up here. And that's a good reason to stay in the front because you can choose your line. You can see the world champion, she is riding up it. The other ones had to get off the bike. That tells us how much skill she has.
Now, if you're new to the sport, you wouldn't think that a warm, dry day would present so many difficulties. You'd think maybe it would be in the rain and the mud, but this can happen when the course gets silty like this.
Well, and you go faster. In the dry weather, they often go faster, so you have less time to react.
This is the end of lap number 1. And that is Ellen van Looy of Belgium, our leader, with the small gap over Katie Keogh, the American, in the green. Ellen Noble, Katie Compton, 3rd and 4th. Sanne Kant, reigning world champion, also there in the top 10. Top 20 separated by just about 20 seconds or so at the end of the first lap. And Van Looy, the fastest opening lap at 8 minutes 35 seconds. What does that tell you about the course?
Since I had a chance to ride on it, it is just the difference between like the fast part they have here, where it's almost like a road race or like a crit, and then you got the tricky sections in the forest with the loose gravel on the ground and the uphills and the downhills. So it's like you can separate the course in 2 halves. This one is just for pure power, and later we come to the more tricky part.
Sanne Kant trying to work her way up towards the front, and look at this, Katie Compton also challenging. Right behind Katie Keogh. Still Ellen van Looy, the leader, going over the Trek flyover. Flyover painted to look like a barn on the sides, a tribute to the location here in Wisconsin and where the Trek Corporation was founded back in the mid-70s.
And here you can see, Katie can see the danger that Ellen van Looy gains too much of an advantage. So Katie just took charge and started chasing after her to not get Ellen too far away from it.
That was one of the issues for Katie Keogh last week in Iowa City. Katarina Nash got the victory. Keogh was second, and Nash was able to get away on some of the climbs and the descents. This course doesn't feature the same elevation changes or those areas where you can really get those sizable gaps. It's a somewhat more conservative course. There are technical sections, but flatter and a little easier than what they saw in the opening World Cup race in Iowa last Sunday. Ellen van Looy, the leader. This is that difficult off-camber descent. Saw a few riders slip out and crash here on the first lap.
She took a really good line on the inside where maybe there's a little bit more grass left, so it's a little bit more grip left. The further to the outside you go, the more you hit the loose sand and the more traction you're going to lose.
Sanne Kant slipping just a little bit there. And other riders going into those barriers. Katie Compton in the Stars and Stripes just ahead of Katie Keogh. Ellen van Looy, the leader. And now back to the Segafredo run-up. Van Looy first to it this time. Keogh led the way last time up. And everybody running, nobody riding. This is one of the most difficult, steepest pitches on the entire course. Compton and Keogh side by side. And then a gap back to this group. A much larger contingent featuring Sanikant in the rainbow jersey, the world champion, who in the race here on Friday really talked about how much the heat impacted her. She crashed 3 times, hurt her head on one of the crashes, and said she felt dizzy and just out of it because of the heat. Some riders, as you know, Jens, handle the heat better than others, and she said it really got to her.
Clearly she didn't enjoy the heat, and once she fell off the first time, she kind of like lost focus a little bit and probably went on, okay, I don't need to chase the win anymore. My race is on Sunday, so she probably went on saving energy for today. He is still the leader in the race. She's still going strong. She's still having a good advantage here.
This is quite a gap that Ellen Van Looy has here. It's Katie Keogh leading most of the way on the first lap before Van Looy came to the front near the end of lap 1. She has led since the start of lap number 2 and now opening up the lead.
I think it's Sophie now on second position.
This is back with the leader. About a 10-second lead right now for her. Compton third, Keogh fourth. Now over the barriers once again. Now, Jens, you surprised that Ellen Van Looy has been able to open this kind of a margin here only on lap number 2?
Yes, it is. It is surprising. Probably she's taking like a more risky approach because you can see back there, there's little groups. They stay together. She's the only one that decided to go all alone. That's pretty impressive. And here's already clearly a gap to the world champion, to Sunny and Sophie Dubois in this group. So it's 2 Americans chasing the leader.
You've got Ellen Van Looy with a lead of right around 10 seconds, and then a group of 3. Ellen Noble, Katie Compton.
Also, it's 3 Americans.
Yes, and Katie Keogh, who we see right here. So the 3 Americans riding together in second. And then another gap back to this group in third. And now this is our leader once again on the second lap. Very difficult wooded section of the course. Single track through here as they wind through the forest.
It's also tricky with the light. Underneath the trees, you have patches of sunlight, patches of shadow. It's actually hard to see where you go and to judge the best line you want to take.
Also a break from the wind. It is a much windier day than they experienced in the lower level races on Friday and Saturday. Nice break for the fans to get a breeze on a hot day. Wind won't impact the riders overall too much, and on the exposed sections of the course, it is kind of a crosswind, kicking up and blowing harder from time to time.
So Ellen Van Looy has almost a 10-second advantage. That is quite a significant amount of time.
And then Compton, Noble, and Keogh right here. The battle for second.
That's another tricky section here. It's just off camber all the time on the side of the hill. So you just can't go fast. It's super tricky. And all is loose sand and gravel. Yes, very dry there. So they go slow because there's just no grip.
"16 minutes in, Ellen Van Looy on the right-hand side of the screen is the leader. Katie Compton now in second. But we're going to take you back to something that happened a few moments ago. I just see Keogh dismount her bike here on the run-up. And this is Ellen Van Looy on the Trek Factory Hill. And she actually goes down. Seems like sort of a harmless spot, but so slippery that even in a spot like that, you can slip out. And now onto the pavement. And it is Katie Compton just ahead of Ellen Noble and then Katie Keogh. This is our leader, Ellen Van Looy. who, as we saw a moment ago, did go down, but still out front. There's the pack behind her. She is the leader out onto the start of lap number 3. And then Katie Compton leads this next group through, followed by Ellen Noble, Katie Keogh, and the world champion Sanne Khan also there. And our leader now with a margin of about 13 seconds after 2 laps. Well, Ellen Van Looy appears to have an issue with her bike. The leader experiencing some trouble. They do come through the pit area shortly, but look at this. Katie Compton and the others have brought her back. It's now Compton, Keogh, Noble behind her. And then Katarina Nash also in the group. Oh, this happened just a moment ago. Ellen Van Looy getting off her bike once again. Now looking down, clearly having an issue. That is not her in the pit there. That looks like Katarina Nash. Caroline Mani is number 24 just behind her. So Nash went to the pit. Mani rode to the back of her. And now this is back to the front of the race. Van Looy, Compton, Keogh, Ellen Noble. Got about half a dozen riders there. And then Mani and Nash right here. So this was the bike change for Katarina Nash, and look at that, she's having trouble. And Jens, this is something she specifically talked about after the Iowa City race. Even though she won that race pretty convincingly, she said the one thing she had to work on, the dismounting and remounting of her bikes in the pit. And we saw that was not a clean one there.
No, it wasn't, no. Also, again, the bikes get tangled up together. That shouldn't happen. There should be maybe 2 mechanics. One grabbing the old bike and one preparing the fresh bike. And she, the athlete, should not have to worry at all about dropping a bike or anything. There should be 2 people taking care of that for her.
So on the third of what they're calling 5 laps here for the women in this second race of the 2017-18 Telenet UCI Cyclocross World Cup. Last week in Iowa City, today in Waterloo, Wisconsin, just northeast of Madison, as Katie Keogh gingerly guides herself down here. And look at this, Katie Compton sliding out on the inside. No matter how careful you are on this section, so treacherous. Oh, into the barriers. See what this has done to the field now. And that group of half a dozen or so that was at the front.
Yeah, I think Caitlin just gained like 2 or 3 extra seconds because of Katie Compton had to get off the bike and get out of the trouble situation there. So, yeah, she gained just 2 seconds.
There's Katie Keogh on the Segafredo run-up. Sanne Khan now in second place. Reigning world champion is in the mix. About 8 riders here near the front in this group. It was Eva Lechner coming down through the middle. And now this is Katie Keogh in the green, followed by Sanne Khan in the rainbow jersey. Ellen Noble is up there from the U.S. as well. Katie Compton has dropped back somewhat. Don't see her in the front 6 here. So you've got Keogh, Sanne Khan, Sophie de Boer, Ellen Van Looy, Katarina Nash, and Ellen Noble. The 6 riders at the front, dealing with these barriers. Keogh and Khan, the front 2. Got to watch out for Katarina Nash in this group, even though she had that clunky bike change a moment ago. Again, she was the winner last week in Iowa City, then flew to Las Vegas for a race on Wednesday night. It was not a World Cup, but it's the annual Cross Vegas event. She won that, so that's 2 victories in the span of just a few days here in the United States. So she has the most momentum of anyone coming here to Wisconsin today.
And we see the world champion taking charge of this. She is the first time in the lead.
So Sanne Kant to the front as they dismount for the barriers. Keogh, Noble, Ellen Van Looy, Katarina Nash, Carolyn Mani.
That was a good jump by her. I think that is actually quicker.
Well, waiting to find out where Katie Compton is at the moment. It looks like she's dropped out of the top 10. Haven't seen her ride through. You have Kant at the very front, followed by Keogh. It's a group of 7 here at the front. And the riders have taken turns at the front. And now a bike change for the Italian.
And there we see Katie Compton now. She's just coming into the picture here now. Yep. So she's 11th or 12th position.
So that was Eva Lettner, who led for part of the way early in Iowa City last week with the bike change in the pit. Well, remember, Jens, on that off-camber descent, we saw her slip a little bit. I wonder if that's the issue that caused her to drop back. It seems like it's a pretty steep drop, though, in the standings for her.
Yeah, I was wondering if she maybe had a mechanical problem after that, because
we didn't see it, right.
She looked strong enough to be in the front, and losing that much time, there must be a mechanical or some other bigger issue.
Now back onto the paved portion of the course. Just a moment ago, another rider.
Oh, and Caitlin was in there as well. Caitlin Keogh, that's how she lost her position. She was looking so strong and looking like really promising for podium here. But being caught behind the crash, you're losing precious seconds. It's hard to make them up.
And especially on a hot day like this, as we're back to our leader, Sanne Kant, and some more separation opening up between the riders at the front. We had that group of 7. Now it's more individual riders in spaces of about 2 or 3 seconds between each other. Katarina Nash is in this group. Katie Keogh is in the green at the back. The bottom of the screen, that is Sanne Kant with the rainbow jersey riding up what is still a very tricky, slippery section. We've seen several riders come off their bikes here, and there's another one right there. It's Ellen Van Looy going up the hill next. Ellen Noble, Katarina Nash now making her way to the top. But this woman, Sanne Kant, first one to the summit. Ellen Van Looy rounding the turn here. Keogh at the back end of this group. Well, you see just how carefully they have to go around those corners. They're flat corners. You would think it's pretty harmless, innocuous, but that's been some of the slowest speeds we have seen because it's so slippery.
The situation can change at any moment here. So even though you think you're leading, I mean, look at Ellen Van Looy. She was leading with like 10, 11 seconds. Suddenly she's back getting caught after that crash, little mechanical problem, and all the work was for nothing. So you always got to be fully focused.
So Sanne Kant with an 8-second lead over Sophie de Boer, 10 seconds over Ellen Van Looy, then Ellen Noble, Carolyn Mani, Katarina Nash, and Katie Keogh. Top 7 separated by 16 seconds now with just 2 laps left to go. So as we start these final 2 laps, this is the 4th of 5. You've got the world champion Sanne Kant out front. Not necessarily a woman you want to be chasing.
Clearly not. She is showing that there's a reason why she's world champion.
was so interesting, though, because of the heat. She spoke before the race about how she's out of her element here. In the race on Friday, that was not a World Cup event. She crashed 3 times, bumped her head, said she felt dizzy out there, does not handle the heat well. She's from Belgium and is used to the colder, windier conditions. This heat is really not her thing, but today, and she's owning it. And she's handling it better than anyone at the moment.
She clearly does. She seemed to be fully in control of it. Fingers crossed nobody crashes anymore. We had enough of that. Let's hope they all stay safe and can keep their positions.
Ellen van Looy, just ahead of Sophie de Boer. And Sane Khan's on lap number 1. Didn't get a great start. She was hovering back in 9th or 10th position throughout that opening lap, but has taken advantage of some fortuitous scenarios that unfolded ahead of her with some mechanical issues, other riders crashing or slowing down because of some slippery sections, and that's allowed her to make her way to the front and now open up a lead of what they're saying is 12 seconds at the moment.
Well, I believe maybe also she has enough experience that she might have figured, I go a little easy in the first lap, I wait for all the others to overcook it, and then I just catch him in the end. I think that's what she did, because she started in the first line and she came like after like 100 meters or whatever, 100 yards. She was already back to place 9 or 10. So I think she took it a little easier and safer at the first lap, and now she's fresher than anybody else out there.
This is that very tricky off-camber downhill. Seen several riders go into the barriers. Keogh with 1 foot out. Nash makes it through. Everybody pretty clean that time. Yeah, as you know, Jens, in this kind of weather, you may want to get that whole shot, go to the front, and ride away from the rest of the field early on. But if you overdo it on a hot day like this and you go too hard too soon, there is no recovery. If you overdo it, you can't back off and then get it back. You're almost just done.
That's actually perfect how you explained it. Exactly, Steve. Once you overcook it, it was in 40 minutes. You have no time to hide in a peloton and recover like you could do in a normal road race. Here, once you overcooked it, it's pretty much the end.
Yeah, you think it's interesting that the race may only be 40 or 50 minutes. You think, it's not too long, but it's a very intense 40 or 50 minutes. So if you don't exactly measure your efforts from start to finish, you may not be there at the front when the finish comes around.
Yeah, and now she looks like she got this under control.
These are the riders chasing her. Single file through here. Sophie de Boer, Ellen Noble, Katie Keogh.
Kaylin Keogh did a good job coming back home. She almost fell back to 10th position.
Oh, look at this.
Oh, yeah. That's another crash. And, oh, there's another one far out.
Like Nikki Bremeyer, that time, who went first into the barriers. Makes it so difficult because even though they've ridden it a few times now and they know how treacherous it is, sometimes there's nothing you can do.
And it gets worse every lap, because every lap 50 riders going down there, and like, so there's less and less track.
This is our leader, Sane Khan. When she comes around to the start-finish area next time, she will hear the bell for 1 lap to go. First over the barriers. Khan's last week was 3rd on the bottom step of the podium in Iowa City. Chasers led by de Boer and the 2 Americans, Ellen Noble and Katie Keogh. Keogh leading this race for a good portion of the opening lap today.
And she's back in 3rd position. Fantastic job.
Katarina Nash there riding out of the frame as well. Caroline Mani.
And you know, we saw that Ellen van Looy, she dropped back to 6th or 7th place. She might be paying the price for going too hard in the first 2 laps, just as you talked about it before.
Right now, 4 Americans in the top 10 overall. Sane Khan, the leader, one of 2 Belgians, along with Ellen van Looy in the top 10 positions. Now Sane Khan, of according to the GPS, is adding to her margin right now, a lead of 16 seconds over Sophie de Boer in second place. But then between second and sixth, they're all separated by no more than 3 seconds. So very tightly bunched. It looks like the biggest battle we may see the rest of the way, Jens, is for second and third position in those final 2 spots on the podium.
That's what it looks like in a moment, absolutely.
Sanne Cant has taken control at the front. Cant did not go to Las Vegas for the Cross Vegas race on Wednesday like Katarina Nash did, who won that event, stayed in the Midwest to prepare for this race in South Central Wisconsin.
The Sergeant White jersey of Katie Compton.
Caroline Mani, number 24, bringing up the tail end of that group. That was Sophie de Boer leading the way just ahead of Keogh.
Out of sight, out of mind. This is there because Sophie de Boer and that group, they know something.
There's the leader, Sanne Cant.
They look like they're so focused on each other. He taking it slow.
Over half an hour in. At this point, with the gaps that are now forming here, Jens, are those others who are chasing Sanne Cant but now 16 seconds or more behind, are they starting to think about second and third, or do they still believe they've got a shot to catch Sanne Cant right now as we're getting later into the race?
No, not anymore. Realistically, they should know they race for second place. They can always hope for misfortune of the leader, but just talking about the legs and just like pure power, they're not gonna make up 16 seconds in one lap. I don't see that happening. And Sanne Cant still looks strong out there, the world champion, so I think she is in control. It looks like if nothing unforeseen happens, she got this one.
And this is a part of the course where they can all see each other. Sanne Cant can look over her shoulder, see how far back the others, they can see her. So for Sanne Cant, she can maybe use this as an opportunity to gauge how hard she has to ride the rest of the way.
Indeed, how hard she has to go, but also how much risk she has to take on some of these slippery parts of the circuit.
Has to be good news for her, knowing she has a pretty healthy margin that she can dial it back if she needs to here. And now coming around that left-hand turn, it's 180 degrees. And then it leads back to the start-finish area. And this will be the start of the final lap for the leader and reigning world champion, Sanne Cant.
That is a comfortable lead.
Katie Keogh leads this next group of about 5 through with a straggler in 6th. And the margin has gone up as Keogh crosses the line. It's just about a 17-second, call it 18-second gap between Cant and the others. And now the final lap underway in Wisconsin. So now tactically, as they start to calculate how to get those final 2 spots on the podium, with it looking like Sanne Cant is going to run away with it here for the victory, what are they particularly thinking is how to negotiate this final lap? How are they going to make it happen to get those second and third positions?
We do have a bit of a finishing straight here. And so if some of the ladies rely or trust in their sprint, they can wait. If you think you have the worst sprint out of the riders in this group, you should actually try to drop them somewhere on the more technical part.
And if it does come down to some kind of a sprint, as we just saw, that finish is going to be pretty quick after the final corner. You have that left-hander at about 180 degrees, and then it's less than 200 meters to the finish line itself, so it makes for a very technical run-in and then a short straightaway for the sprint itself.
Yes, slightly uphill on the sprint, but it's a very short finishing straight, yes. If you finish second or third around the last corner, you still might win it. If you come around that corner 6th position, there's no way you're going to win a sprint of your group.
Keogh leading this group with Sophie de Boer, Ellen Noble, Caroline Mani, Katarina Nash. Now for the second week in a row on the World Cup here in North America, Katie Compton starting strong, working in the top 5 in the opening lap, and then fading. Last week it was a crash. This week we saw her have trouble on a descent, but then disappear. And now this is that tricky, slippery off-camber descent, and Kant really taking it conservatively.
Yes, indeed. She does play it safe. She figures, I'd rather lose 1 second here than losing 10 seconds by crashing and getting off the bike. Well done by her. Smart decision. And see the power she still has left going up that hill.
Final of 5 laps. And now some other riders, it looks like, trying to make a move on this little uphill section. Doesn't look like much, but it's tough. This is where the sorting out may start to occur for those that don't want it to come down to a sprint at the end. Segafredo run-up, led by our leader, Sonny Kant.
Getting up there, you're going to see her coming up around and underneath that stretch flyover. Not too far.
Sophie DeBoer leading this next group. Katie Keogh also there in the green. She's now moving to the front. Noble and Mani also still here. Keogh first to the top, first back on her bike, but DeBoer right behind her, number 37.
It does look like Keogh trying to make a move here, trying to get actually away from the rest of the group to secure a second place, to secure another spot on the podium here.
Now she'd love to do it in front of her Wisconsin fans. Katie Keogh from Racine, about an hour and a half east of here. Won here last year in a lower level race. Won in Iowa City last Friday night in the non-World Cup event.
They have successfully managed to break away from the rest of the group. So it looks like they might go for a second place, Sophie DeBoer and Caitlin Keogh.
Yeah, Keogh was second to Katarina Nash last week in the World Cup in Iowa City, was just ahead of Sonny Kant, who finished 3rd.
And Keogh is still pushing. She got like maybe a second, 2 seconds gap in between her and Sophie now. So she still must be feeling strong and good. And here we again have the leader, the world champion, Sonny Kant, probably bringing it home.
The lead still at 15 seconds for Sonny Kant as she dismounts over the barriers. That's Sophie DeBoer, second place.
Ellen Noble keeps jumping the barriers, the only lady in the whole peloton here. She keeps jumping these barriers.
40 minutes in for Sonny Kant, who turns 27 years of age 2 weeks from today. Now here's Katie Keogh.
She's still in second position. It looks good.
Things starting to open up between the riders at the front of the field in the first 4 or 5 spots. They were bunched together for a while, but now the separation occurring here on this final lap as they ride through this brief wooded section. Keogh can see over her left shoulder our leader, Sonny Kant. So it was
The gap went down for some reason. Sonny Kant lost about 9 seconds. She's down to 10 seconds advantage. I don't know what happened in between here.
We didn't see anything happen with Sonny Kant. I don't know if maybe she was being conservative and Keogh punched it a little bit. She has taken a few seconds back. Still going to be hard to reel in all 10 seconds here on this final lap. Sonny Kant, followed by Keogh. And now here is Sophie DeBoer. She's in 3rd position. Sonny Kant On Friday, again crashed 3 times, hit her head. Said she was dizzy, did not handle the heat well. And here we are on a day where the temperatures once again near 90 degrees Fahrenheit, excelling in the heat, managing her energy extremely well after the conservative start, coming to the front after a couple of laps, and now taking charge and hoping to bring it home. Sonic here at the bottom of the screen in the white, Keough in second. Now a battle for that final spot on the podium.
It's the last tricky section here, last tough section. We got this little sharp turn where you almost have to go walking speed coming up now, and then just all the way downhill to the finish.
This is Keough in second. She's taking the right line here. Has to believe she's a safe second now. And the battle for third is behind her. But this is Sanne Kant, the native of Antwerp, Belgium, riding into the win. 2-time UCI Cyclocross World Cup champion, World Cyclocross champion last year. And even with the heat, zips up the jersey to celebrate the win today in Waterloo. And Katie Keough, the Wisconsin native, finishes second. And here's the battle for third place. And an ecstatic Ellen Noble of the U.S. takes it ahead of Sophie de Boer from the Netherlands. As Caroline Mani of France rounds out the top 5, but how about 2 Americans on the podium at a World Cup in the U.S.? Keough and Noble, second and third. Just behind the winner, Sanne Kant of Belgium. Now other riders almost a minute behind as they finish, but an impressive ride by the reigning world champion, Sanne Kant, to get the victory ahead of the 2 Americans, Katie Keough and Ellen Noble, who complete the podium today. It's Ellen Noble there, number 6. A career ride for her today, Jens.
Yes, indeed. They were strong and timed it right. And I must say that Caitlin Keough, after being caught behind that crash, she had a strong comeback. Who knows where she would have finished without that hiccup.
Eva Lechner, the Italian champion, crossing over a minute and a half back.
And you can see they paid a price to the heat and they completely exhausted here.
Arlene Kemmerer, also an American, one of 18 U.S. racers in the field. Just about 2 minutes behind our winner, Sanne Kant. Now, what was it in your mind that made the difference for Sanne Kant to get the victory?
I think the timing. Conservative in the first lap, not overcooking it, and having just a little bit more freshness left to then accelerate and drop the others when it was necessary. I think her race tactics.
Now Caroline Mani there.
And then we've got, looking down a little way, we're going to have a little
Maggie Roche of Canada.
2 riders coming through the finish line, trying to stick
the heat, the primary story on this Sunday in south central Wisconsin. Temperature near 90 degrees. And the woman who said it bothered her the most on Friday here absorbed it the best today. Sanne Kant, despite the weather, gets the win in Wisconsin. And for Katie Keough, second last week in Iowa City, and second once again this week in her home state of Wisconsin.
I must say, in my eyes, she did the most impressive ride. She was strong all race long, and without being caught behind that crash, losing a few seconds there. Maybe she could have stayed.
Check.
as
Yeah,
the
now
world
I hear
champion.
And a handshake with her fellow American Ellen Noble. And Noble, the most animated of the riders, coming across the finish line with the fist pump to finish on the podium. The American ecstatic to get third place today, just outside of Madison. And a lot of exhausted riders. 43 minutes and 13 seconds, the winning time of Sane Khan, but that was a very hard 43-minute effort for her and everyone today in this heat. These are the unofficial standings. Hunt, Keogh, and Noble, the top three. Sophie DeBoer and Carolina Mani complete the top five, and last week's winner in Iowa City, Katarina Nash, just outside of that. Half a minute down on the winner in 6th place. So, 45 riders in the field, top 20 separated by just over 2 minutes today. The heat certainly taking its toll on this field in the second of the 2 U.S. stops on the 2017-18 Telenet UCI Cyclocross World Cup to begin the campaign. Last Sunday in Iowa City, today in Waterloo, Wisconsin, and then the circuit takes a break and resumes in the middle of next month in Europe. 9 stops altogether this year. The rest taking place in Europe. It'll be the Netherlands, next stop in mid-October. As this is a look back at Sane Khan, the winner today. Started conservatively, and then after a couple of laps came to the front and then only built on her lead. Keogh did reel a little bit back late to finish within 10 seconds of Sane Khan, but really a convincing, emphatic win for the reigning world champion Sane Khan, who gets the victory today in Waterloo, Wisconsin. Now the Trek Bicycle Corporation holding this race on their campus. Worldwide headquarters right here in Waterloo. It's just about a 20-minute drive outside of Madison. They've spent the last several years building this cyclocross course, holding various races here since 2013, but this is the first time they have ever held a race at this level, the Elite World Cup level here. As the Cyclocross World Cup just coming to the U.S. these last few years. Las Vegas, Iowa City, and now Waterloo. Just the third different venue to ever host a World Cup cyclocross event in the U.S. But Trek knows how to put on a show, don't they, Jens?
They do indeed, and there's a big crowds here, fantastic weather, lots of people. It's more like a festival than a bike race here. A little different than the Tour de France, I would say.
All the top riders on the planet opening up their campaigns here in the U.S. Sane Khan, world champion from last year, hoping to start her path towards another rainbow jersey in the U.S. Katie Keogh, the most consistent of all the riders on the World Cup these first 2 weeks with a pair of second-place finishes. Crystal Ferrier-Brunier of Canada, number 28, absolutely beat down after this battle in the heat. And Ellen Noble of the U.S., number 6, just elated with her third-place finish.
Caitlin Keogh should be also very high up there in the overall standings for the World Cup. Like with 2 second places, she must be right up there.
Well, last week it was Katarina Nash who was the only racer who finished ahead of her, getting the victory in Iowa City, but Nash finished 6th today. Sane Khan finished a spot behind Katie Keogh last week in Iowa City in 3rd, finishes 1 spot ahead of her today in Waterloo.
So maybe the next race, Caitlin Keogh gets called up first to the start line, leading the World Cup. That would be awesome.
And for Katie Keogh, good start position, building confidence. This is a terrific start to the campaign for her. Always helps to race in your home state. She's been very consistent here at the start of the season. Overall, not just in the World Cup, as we see the current 2017 18 Telenet UCI Cyclocross World Cup standings, led by Sani Khan, just ahead of Katie Keogh by 5 points, who is then 10 points clear of Katarina Nash in the top 3. Ellen Noble in the top 5. Emma White of the U.S. also in the top 10 at the moment. Going back to Katie Keogh, a few weeks ago, she won a race in Rochester, New York. Then in Iowa City, won a race on Friday night before the World Cup on Sunday, where she finished 2nd. Keogh not racing across Vegas in the desert this past Wednesday, saving her energy for her home state race today, where she finished 2nd once again. So clearly, Katie Keogh, the most consistent of the racers here at the outset of the new season, and certainly a good boost for her spirits as the World Cup campaign for the women now takes a break for the next few weeks. Oh, Sani Kant in the rainbow jersey. Conservative start, but it paid off by finishing first today. Winning by 9 seconds over
Sanne
Katie
Kant,
Keogh.
dikke proficiat, hele knappe race. Maar vertel eens, hoe heb je precies het verschil kunnen maken?
Goh, ik had namelijk eigenlijk een heel slechte start en ik had ergens een beetje schrik dat ik al te veel energie zou moeten verspillen om vooraan te geraken. Maar dat viel eigenlijk op zich redelijk goed mee. En ik denk dat ik iets voor half wedstrijd van voor kon postvatten. En ik had van achteren een redelijk goed stukje dat me echt redelijk goed lag. En ja, ik ging dan naar de kop en plotseling had ik 5, 6 seconden. En ik ben gewoon mijn eigen tempo blijven rijden. Dus mijn motor zeker niet ging oververhitten. En ja, ik kon meer en meer uitlopen. Dus ja, ik ben er echt heel blij mee.
Wanneer wist je, dit is binnen?
Goh, pas in de laatste ronde. Het is zo verraderlijk. En vrijdag viel ik ook in een bocht waar je eigenlijk nooit niet kon vallen. Dus ik was maar blij toen ik de eindmeet zag. Ik ben heel blij dat ik het gevoel dat ik al 2 weken hier op training heb, dat ik dat eindelijk in wedstrijd eens heb kunnen laten zien. Dus ik ben echt blij met deze overwinning. Ik doe heel veel deugd.
Heeft het briesje het toch een beetje draaglijker gemaakt, die hitte?
Ja, en ook het volk onderweg dat stond met water om me constant nat te houden. Dat geeft verfrissing en verkoeling. Dus dat zorgt ervoor dat de motor niet oververhit geraakt. Want dat is volgens mij hier, denk ik, dat kan het grootste probleem zijn. Dus ja, het was een hoop omstandigheden bijeen dat goed is afgelopen.
Een mooi extraatje. Het prijzengeld is hier gelijk verdeeld voor de mannen en de vrouwen. Voor jullie is het ongeveer 20 keer zoveel als anders het geval is. Dat is de eerste keer ooit voor een wereldbekercross.
Ja, klopt. Het is heel plezant meegenomen. Nu kunnen we toch een deel van onze reis recupereren. Dus dan wordt misschien eens een 0-operatie in plek van een min-operatie.
Bedankt. Sanne Kant, congratulations. How did you make the difference today?
Thanks. I had at the end of the course a piece that fits me really well, and yeah, there was an uphill I could ride at a small gear really fast, and I think there I make the difference, and I just kept my speed up, and yeah, it was enough to win.
And this makes it worth it, the trip to the USA.
Yeah, the prize money is bigger now, so I could pay my trip now. I'm really happy with victory today.
Thank you very much and congratulations. Congratulations again.
Thank you again. Yeah.
Yeah. Katie Keogh. Katie Keogh, you're from Wisconsin. This must feel extra special for you, for your home crowd.
Yes, this is amazing. It's like a dream come true to. Yes.
We're going to do it again. Katie Keogh, congratulations. You're from Wisconsin, so this must feel extra special for you.
Yes, this is amazing. It's a dream come true to be able to get on the podium in a World Cup in my home state.
Was Sanne Kant too strong today?
She was really good today. It was a really technical course, and it was hard to be racing in the group, so it was good if you're leading sections or if you were on your own. I think that was an advantage. So.
How did you handle the heat?
The heat, it's hot for everyone, and I just make sure I have good preparations leading up to the race.
And a nice extra for everybody here. The women get the same amount of prize money as the men. That's a first for a World Cup race.
Yes, that's unbelievable. Big thanks to Trek for making that happen. We're very thankful. So yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Waterloo will say in just a few moments.
Ellen Noble, that was close with Sophie de Boer at the end. How did you manage to reach the podium?
I wanted it really badly, and it would have taken a lot today to get me from not out sprinting someone for that. It was I had to be confident and remind myself to stay calm, but once we got to that finishing straight, I just made sure that I had nothing left. And yeah, once you get within and you can see the podium and you can smell it, there was nothing that was stopping me from going all in.
And how was it for you in this heat? Did the breeze help a little bit?
Yeah, the breeze helped a little bit, and because they were allowing a little bit of water on the course, that helped me a lot. I'm not really good in the heat, but I had that as a part of my strategy today to stay calm and not overexert myself in the start, and I think it paid off.
It didn't look easy at all with this surface.
No, absolutely not. This is a super tough course, but with a good breakdown and really looking at where you can recover and where it was worth it to go hard, I think I was able to really ride a race that I'm super proud of.
And the nice bonus is the women and the men get paid extra, paid the same amount of money.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. For me, this is my first World Cup podium, so I'm already in shock. And then to remember that, in fact, this is equal payout is really amazing. So I want to thank Trek for stepping up and showing us that our efforts are worth it. And it's an amazing time to be a female athlete in this sport.
Congratulations and enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Sanikant getting the victory ahead of Katie Keogh and Ellen Noble. And we heard just what this meant to both Keogh and Noble, the two Americans on the podium here.
Ladies and gentlemen,
cyclocross still somewhat new to the U.S. at the World Cup level. Which is only the second year where they've had World Cup events in the U.S. So for these U.S. racers here, Noble and Keogh, a big moment in their careers.
It is indeed, and they did race very strong, very smart. And hopefully there's more to come. I think they're on a good way, on a good start to have a great season. So there's the track owner and the son of the founder, John Borg, handing out the flowers to these ladies.
And the winner, Sanikant. After a third place finish last week and having to deal with the heat once again, some were suspicious of her chances of finishing right there on the top step of the podium, but boy, did she deliver. And it was an emphatic win at that. Did not have to sprint anyone, as she had a relatively comfortable margin there at the very end.
And you know what I like? We only see smiling faces. Sometimes you see a disappointed second or third place. Here, they're all happy from the bottom of their heart. They enjoy their places because they all know they worked hard for it and they did the maximum they could do.
So the podium once again, Sanikant ahead of Katie Keogh and Ellen Noble, two Americans and a Belgian in the top three today. And that is the Telenet UCI Cyclocross World Cup Leaders jersey that Sanikant will pull on. But it's a slim lead, just 5 points ahead of the woman to her right in the green, Katie Keogh, who sits in second. This could be a fun battle all season long with 2 stops down and 7 still to go on the World Cup.
We clearly hope for a close battle. It's just more interesting and exciting for everybody to watch.
Belgian fans out here in Waterloo, Wisconsin, and I think they're going to swap out the jerseys here. They had to get the jersey with the correct sponsor on it, always important. So Silent Comp, the winner of the race today, and the new World Cup leader. As the World Cup now takes a break for just inside of a month before it resumes in Europe in mid-October.
Well, a month of time, so I guess these three ladies, they don't need to do too much. Their shape is right there, they just need to maintain it. Other ones, after reassessing the situation, they might need to change something in the training or racing program.
National anthem of Belgium for the
Ladies
winner,
and gentlemen,
Cut, who turns 27 years of age 2 weeks from today. Started cycling back in 2002 and was a Belgian youth national champion at 14. And today wins the second stop of the 2017-18 Telenet UCI Cyclocross World Cup in Waterloo, Wisconsin. So that'll close things out for the women's race. The men's still to come on a hot Sunday afternoon in South Central Wisconsin. So we'll see you for the men's race. But in the meantime, for Jens Vogt, I'm Steve Schlanger. Thanks for joining us for the ladies' race here from Waterloo at the 2017-18 Telenet UCI Cyclocross World Cup.